In this video, we are going to take a look at Amari DeBarry and why she could be an important piece for UConn this upcoming season. And will that happen? That is the big question with DeBerry. Now, first, the importance of DeBerry is really she is only the super big that UConn has. She's 6'5". The other potential big they had, El Alfie's out, obviously, with her Achilles injury, and she is the only one there. Of course, you have Aaliyah Edwards. She's sort of like 6'3", and she's a good big. I'm not saying that, but watching the preseason game, the Rutgers versus South Carolina and Cardoso as well, I watched the AmeriCup as well, and that just emphasized to me how you need a super big to go against Cardoso. It was quite clear, first on the exhibition game that South Carolina played against Rutgers, they were just basically throwing it into her, and Rutgers had no answer. They didn't have anybody big enough, and she can just destroy teams on the boards and just playing her own game of volleyball, if you like, and nobody can do anything with her because she is just so big and tall. And that made me interested. I went and watched AmeriCup, and one thing was very clear. Angel Reese could not handle her. Angel Reese was the starter for the game, and within 2 or 3 minutes, they had to get her out and put in Lauren Betts because she could match up because she was big enough and had the size, and they battled the whole way through. She could sort of keep it under control. Cardoso still had a great, a dominant game. I think she went for around 20 points, but Betts could keep her under control, and Reese could just do nothing against her. And hence, that is why you need a super big. It's sort of like nuclear deterrence, if you like. I don't know if that's too dark. Or having lawyers, because you need one to defend if the other guy has one. And obviously, UConn will play non-conference against South Carolina. That will help them when they match up against them as well. If they face UCLA in the tournament, that would allow, if they could get productivity out of DeBerry, that would allow them to use her to match up against Lauren Betts. The other thing, if they match up against LSU at some point, again, Reese does not like height. I am so curious to see what's going to happen with her this year, because I think the scouting report will get out is, hey, let her drain from outside, put a super big on her, and let her drive and make sure the super big keeps her arms straight up. That's basically what it is. And as well, if she lowers her shoulder, you need to make sure you flop like hell and try to draw the charge. It's hard to tell anything with LSU right now because of their schedule, but I will be interested when they face off against Virginia Tech. Last year when they played Tech, she had her sidekick, LaDasia Williams, who was able to do a lot of the dirty work, and that meant that Kitley was on Williams, and then Reese could match up with somebody smaller. I'm curious this year if Brooks puts Kitley on Reese with the instructions, do not go out on her under any circumstances. More than happy to give away the elbow jumper, the mid-range jumper. You just wait for her to come to you, keep your arms straight up, and we're happy to play that. I am curious to see how fast Kim Mulkey brings on Aaliyah Del Rosario, as that will give her the option to go to somebody really big and then move Angel Reese over to the 4. But again, it's going to be a struggle for them because then you just have too much jamming up the middle. I'm just curious about this and seeing how it'll play out. But the super big is an important option, I believe, for UConn to have in its bag, and that is dependent on DeBerry. And then this leads into the second question: can you depend on DeBerry? She was touted a top 15 recruit coming to UConn. Didn't do much as a freshman and really didn't do a hell of a lot last year as a sophomore. And that is the thing. Sophomore year was her chance. With all the injuries that UConn had, it was her chance to try to make her case to get playing time, and she really just did not do it. Last year, she averaged 2.2 points, 1.7 rebounds, and zero point 0.7 blocks, and got 8.1 minutes per game. With all the injuries to UConn last year, she only saw double-digit playing time 10 times last season. Now, I went and rewatched the game against Princeton. I can't show you any highlights of it because of copyright. That was the game where she got the most minutes, just over 20 minutes in that game. And what stands out, she's just not instinctive. She tends to make the wrong pass at times. Like if she gets flustered, she's will throw the ball away. This game, she had a pretty good game, but it's not like, oh my God, we've got this 6'5" girl on the court and she's going to block everything. She's just a step slow and just seems, yeah, she's just there. That's the best way I can describe it, is just there. And it even said in that game, she had a few good post-ups. Like initially in the game, she put her arm out, backed the Princeton girl down and got a few good shots, but she's not real dominating on defense. She doesn't have a real good instinct for grabbing the rebounds or getting in position where the ball is going to be, the anticipation of where's the ball going to go on this rebound. It really felt like UConn gave up on her at the end of the season as she didn't get much playing time. And then she met with Auriemma in April, and DeBerry says it was basically, her quote was, it was pretty much him saying that I need to step up and be able to help this team. But that was also when I found out I needed to get surgery, so things changed. And sure enough, then she had to go and get an L5 S1 discectomy. She played a little bit, just a tiny bit when they went to Europe, and she's still sort of rebuilding her tolerances, and they think she'll be able to start the season. The question is, how much did her back impact her last season? The game I watched against Princeton, she was moving all right. I didn't see any issues. She was able to bend over to tie her shoe, I saw on one occasion. So it's one of those cases. Is DeBerry sort of what Dick Vitale used to call all airport team, where she looks like a player in the airport and you're like, man, this girl must be a beast. She's a basketball player, but then it just does not translate on the court. Or another one, Joel Bushbaum of NFL draft fame used to say, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. And is that the case for DeBerry? They certainly need her to step up. My other question is she just too smart for basketball? You have some of the, and that's probably not fair, but in this story I read in the CT, it was sort of like going into how she researched all about fungus and its properties. And I mean, her teammates lovingly call her, she's a bit weird and sort of goes off on her own thing studying and just sort of seems quite comfortable walking to the beat of her own drum, which is fine. I mean, you'll get athletes that do that and produce. So it's probably unfair for me to suggest that, because I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he always was a little bit different, but would deliver on the field when it was time. So I don't really think that's the case. I suspect it's more of a case that a lot of times with bigs, coaches are so drooling over the potential, they overlook what the production is. And I think she's likely that sort of player where she'll probably get drafted, even if she keeps on going the way she is, or she'll play overseas, just on the thought, if she ever puts it together, man, this girl's going to be great. And that's where it is. I don't know if she's capable of putting it together. I think UConn needs to keep it simple for her and just say, you've got two jobs, is basically to defend the big, basically rebound, outlet, and run the court. DeBerry seems to understand this, where she says, the main thing for me will be consistency. The coaches don't ask you to do something you can't do. They ask you to do things you came here to do and what should be done every day in practice. So I think she realizes she needs to put in harder in practice as well. As that seems to be the other thing, trying to read between the lines, is she's not always there 100% every day. And she alludes to, in this article, it alludes to mental health issues and anxiety and things like that she struggled with in her sophomore year. She says she has that behind her and is in a much better place mental health-wise. I don't want to be negative. Hopefully it's a case where it just all comes together and she sort of blossoms in her junior and senior years. That would be the hope. Whether it happens, I think it's a coin toss. Anyway, I'd like to get your thoughts. Do you think the super big is important for UConn? And do you think DeBerry can be that super big that UConn needs? Thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you next time. Good night.